Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Uh, Thank you so much for coming to class 3 of the third course in the Foundation series on applied meditation. Before we get started, before we do our motivation and recite our prayers, there's one thing I wanted to talk about with regard to the refuge prayer. And let me get that open. Sorry, I am sharing challenged. Those of you who studied with me before know this about me. So, in general, when we go for refuge, like right before we go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until we achieve enlightenment. And then we say, by the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, referring to our practice of the 6 perfections of a bodhisattva. Giving is the first, right? We say, then may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. So this line here, by the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, in the Tibetan language, it's Daki Jinsok. Daki Jinsok. That's what you recite when you're doing your practice, your daily practice. Generally, when you're by yourself, or even more broadly, when you could be practicing with others, but you're not at a teaching. When you're at a teaching, you change that. Used to say Daki Jinsok. Now it says Daki Chun Yen. Say Chun Yen. Chun Yen. And what that means is listening to the Dharma. So when you go to teachings, you would just recite Daki Chunyen Ki Pe Sanam Ki. By the power of the goodness that I do in listening to the Dharma. So when you're teaching the Dharma, you would say Chi She, Daki Chi She Ki Pe Sanam Ki, and that means in explaining the Dharma or in sharing the Dharma. So that's what I would say is Daki Chi She, while people who are in the class are saying Daki Chun Yen. Okay? And unfortunately, I did not prepare the whole package of all the prayers into one document. So just remember, when we get to that point, we're going to say, I'll put it in the chat. We're going to say Daki Shi Nian. Yes, Nguyen Vu, it is She when you're teaching. Daki Chi She. Okay, so now that we know from the goodness we collect by listening to the teachings or sharing the teachings, uh, let's set our motivation as high a level as we can bring up in our hearts and feel it in our hearts. Why we're here today, why we would like to study and learn how to meditate. Tashi Puki Chukshin Metok Dram Riva Blingshin Yende Kampadi Sange Shingdu Mikte Wargi Trokun Namdak Shingla Chuparsho Sange Sashi Puki Chukshin Metok Dram Vira Blingshin Yende Kempati Sangye Shingdu Mite Owaki Tokun Namdak Shingla Tuparsho Sashi Puki Tukshin Metok Dram Riva Blingshin Yende Kampati Sange Shingdu Mikte Owarki Drokun Namdak Shingla Tuparsho Yedam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniryataya Ni Sangye Chiran Soki Chuknam La Changchu Partu Dakni Kyapsu Chi Daki Che Kipe Sunam Ki Drola Benchir Sangye Druparsho Sangye Chudam Soki Chuknam La Changchu Partu Dakni Kyapsu Chi Daki Chushe Kipe Sunam Ki Drola Benchir Sangye Tuparsho Sangye Chudam Soki Chukdam La Changchu Partu Dakni Kyapsu Chi Daki Chushe Kipe Sunam Ki Chola Benchir Sangye Druparsho. So let me get my handy Tibetan text open. Oh, Milan, thanks for putting that in the chat. So before we get started, were there any questions remaining from last class? The question is, what work will we be using for the practice of the 7 ingredients? So the 7 ingredients, they are part of, they're coming from the prayer of Samantabhadra, or the king of prayers, it's sometimes called. So Jason Kappa in the reading for classes 1 and 2, when he talked about the 7 ingredients, he was quoting from the prayer of Samantabhadra. So that's where we're getting that from. What you use, though, in your hopefully in your practice these past few days in meditation, was the Kantan Lakyama, the 1,000 angels of the heaven of bliss, which is a prayer centered around Jason Kappa that his later students wrote when they're doing the 7 ingredients. And that's also a very beautiful prayer. So actually the correct answer for question 7 was, even though Jason Kappa used Mantrabhadra's prayer in the reading, we were using Kandan Lakyama, or the 1,000 angels of the heaven of bliss. But I think if you can remember either one of those names, I can't imagine someone who would be correcting your homework giving you marking you off. What should we do for offerings to the altar when we're traveling? Should we clean up the altar and leave it? So I travel with like a little tiny picture of my Lama, and a little teeny tiny statue. It's called a tsatsa in Tibetan. It's a tiny little statue, like maybe a quarter of an inch thick and maybe 1 inch tall. And And I mainly, when I travel, I make visualized offerings instead of offerings on the altar. But I do carry those too with me, along with a teeny tiny dorje and bell, if you know what those practice implements are. So I have these teeny tiny um, little items that I use for my altar, and I visualize them much larger. So you can imagine, you can, if you want to, you know, you can carry a little bowl if you have room in your luggage, uh, and put out. You could put out just one water bowl and have it represent all the water bowls. Um, you just have to sort of be careful. Like if you have someone who, if you're staying in a hotel, for example, and someone is coming to clean your room, they might think that, oh, I'm gonna I'm gonna clean up this space here, and I'm gonna dump this water out and clean the bowl. So you might not want to have an offering like that if you're staying at a hotel, but if you're at someone's house who will let you, have your own little space, then you could do that. You can improvise. The main part of the practice is the visualization, the motivation, the what we think about what it is that we're doing. So if we put our focus there, it will be really wonderful. Due to work constraints, it's challenging for me to meditate at a fixed time. What should I do at this stage? And what seeds should I plant to establish a regular meditation practice? If your work situation is such that it's impossible to set up a schedule of any sort, then you can make the intention in your mind that I'm picking up that the challenge is a fixed time, and the challenge is not getting to the meditation cushion and meditating. So have your intent in the morning be that, you wake up and say, okay, I'm going to meditate at this time today, when you know your schedule. It's basically what we're doing with meditation. Like we talked about, I think it was in the first class, that meditation practice, and meditation is a tool that we use to basically be able to control our mind, to be able to get to the state where we can say at any point in time, no matter what time it is, now I'm going to meditate on this object, and I'm going to meditate for, X amount of time. And we sit down and we're able to, just by saying that, but just by having that intent, we're able to put our mind on that object and stay on that object for the period of time we said we were going to. So that's like a completely tamed mind. So you want to do things that lead you in that direction. And it's like working with with a kid, a child, like, oh, today we're going to go to the park after we have breakfast. So it like lays out what's going to happen, and then you're going to do it. And then afterwards, hopefully rejoice, hey, we went to the park. So it trains the kids from not like screaming about when are we going to the park all during breakfast, because they know we're going to the park after breakfast. So the same with your mind. You set up the schedule and keep to the schedule that you set up, and it can change. Like if you have a different working time frame every day, if you, however far in advance you know what your schedule is for work, you can say, okay, on Monday, I'm going to meditate at this time. On Tuesday, I'll meditate at this time, and so on, and sort of map it out for yourself for the week. And that's, again, it's basically training the mind to know what to expect, that these are the times I'm going to meditate. And then sticking to it, even if it's only 5 minutes. That's a good meditation session. Anytime you get yourself to your meditation cushion, even if your mind is crazy wild, and we'll get to that later, but we're setting a foundation. So you can do your best with whatever your life situation is to bring some order to it, even though right now it doesn't look like it has order. Even if you have a crazy work schedule, you can bring order to it. You can work within that kind of craziness. Now, planting seeds to establish a regular meditation practice, you can, if you know about the four aspects of creating a strong karma, planting a seed that will be firmly planted and ripen as strong as possible into a vibrant sprout. Have the intention very clearly in your mind exactly what it is you would like to see. So with a regular meditation practice, you may also think not only about that you want a regular meditation practice, but why do you want to meditate? So bring in your higher motivation to your wish to have a regular meditation practice. So have that idea firmly in your mind. And then think about someone who, it doesn't matter what it is they want to do. If they want to do some sort of spiritual practice, that's great, but it could be some other thing. But someone who would like to set up some new habit, if you will. It could be someone who wants to, maybe start walking every day or something, and they need a little help. Maybe they need a companion to help them be regular in taking walks, or even going outside, or find someone who wants to do something similar to what it is you would like to do, and then help them. You could go walking with them every day, meet with them for coffee, talk about what it is they like to do, find out why it is they would like to do what they want to do. Talk with them about what obstacles they face in having their desire to start whatever practice it is they want to start, help them troubleshoot how to work through challenges, to the extent you're personally help them do what they'd like to do, as long as it's not something that would go against any of the vows you have, or harms other people. Of course, you wouldn't want to help them do that. And then, after you've met with them, you can meet with them on a regular basis. The repetition of planting this seed makes this seed more powerful. So you can meet with them, say, once a week or once a month on a regular basis for coffee or tea, and talk about how they're doing with their goal. And then that night, before you go to sleep, think about, okay, I have this strong motivation. I want to have a meditation practice, and I want to have this practice because I really want to see emptiness directly, so that I can be on the path to enlightenment, so I can benefit all living beings everywhere, to help them get out of suffering. And I met with Susie Q, and we talked about what she wanted to do, and I helped her. And you think about the ways you helped, and then you rejoice. I'm so happy that I'm planting the seeds for a regular meditation practice, and that I'm helping Susie Q meet her goals. And then you dedicate that work towards having a regular meditation practice. Plants a powerful seed. Regarding a daily practice with the offerings, can we recite the chuppah while making the offerings? We do not have time for a longer prayer. Besides water, or in substitution, if we do not have time, I guess we can use real candles, incense, and flowers. Already answered. Okay, sorry. But the most important thing, is your intention, is your motivation. Thinking about making offerings to all enlightened beings and your teacher, that you are, not that you think of them as needing those offerings. They don't need water, they don't need food, they don't need candles. But that your gratitude for what it is they share with you, the teachings they share with you, are the thing that can personally help you reach enlightenment. And that your gratitude is so great that you want to offer these things to them. Okay. I haven't seen people's homeworks or quizzes. I'll have to talk with the ACI angels and find out how I can see how things are going. But just to quickly say that when Geshe Michael taught this course, there was a little bit of confusion on one of the homeworks regarding the different words that we had for meditation. Remember, we had Gompa and Samten and Tinginzin and Shine and Nyomjuk and Nyamshak. And so Geshe Michael clarified that Nyamshak is, or Samahita in Sanskrit, one of the 6 words that we had. That word is used mainly to talk about the state of meditation that you're in when you're in the direct perception of emptiness. So that's the special thing about Nyamshak. And this happens on the what we call the path of seeing. There are 5 paths, and I'm not sure were they covered in course 2, maybe. I can't remember which course, when Geshe Michael talks about the 5 paths, the path of preparation, the path of accumulation, the path of seeing, the path of habituation, and then the path of no more learning. And those are the paths we go through on our way to enlightenment. It's basically 2 parts. There's the direct perception of emptiness, and you're in this Nyamshak meditation. And then there's what they call Jetop. And that is just basically what's happening after you have the direct perception of emptiness. And this is the path is not a walking path, but it's a realization path. So the realization has 2 parts in the path of seeing. The first is the direction of emptiness. The second is there's a realization of 4 Arya truths: the truth of suffering, the truth of the cause of suffering, the truth of the end of suffering, and the truth of the path to the end of suffering. So you realize those 4 after you come out of meditation. It's more of a discursive realization. It's not one that this second part, the Jetop, which just means basically after, afterwards. It's the method afterwards. You get a realization of those 4 truths. They like come to you. So I just wanted to clarify about Nyamsha and Jetop in the path of seeing. But hopefully that was already clear for you. So now we're moving on our topic for today, if Utpala can get on topic here, get on track. Today's topic is the 6 conditions for meditation. Our first 2 classes in this course, where we're talking about preparing for meditation. We had the 6 preliminary practices, right? We had the 7 ingredients that were part of the 6 preliminary practices. And now there's the sins for meditation. And these are like setting the stage, the environment, but it's both outside of us and inside of us, as you'll see. So we'll get into this, or I'll cover it again at the end of class, but in general, this, of course, this content is coming from Geshe Kappa in his Lamrim Chenmo. And he relied on many different books in writing his Lamrim Chenmo. He quotes different books to show you that he's making stuff up, that what he's sharing has a foundation in the classical commentaries to the sutras. So we'll get into this, but that's in general where this comes from. So the first condition is tunpe yul. Say tunpe. I want to see lips moving. Thank you. Tunpe yul. So tunpa, that means like when 2 people get along, there's harmony. So Geshe Michael translated this as conducive. And yul means place. A place. So Geshe Kappa got his description of a conducive place to meditate from the, in Sanskrit, it's called the Sutra Alankara, and in Tibetan, Dodekyen. Sutra Alankara. This was written by Arya Asanga, who lived around 350 AD or current era. If you may know the story, just a brief story about him is that his mother, before he was born, his mother was a nun, and the Buddhist teachings were in decline in her area. And she had a vision that if she gave up her vows and married a king, she would have a child. And then after that king passed, and then she married a Brahmin, and had another child, those 2 children would be 2 greatest scholars of a collection of Buddhist pundits. she married a Brahmin, and she had two children. Um, and she had who became master. Book is this book called Alankar. Sometimes you'll see as do. He gives a list of 5 characteristics that a conducive place to meditate has. And you don't have to remember these 5. So I'm just going to go through them briefly. So just so you have it in your mind. And it's in the reading, but you don't have to write about it on your homework. So the first point he calls necessities. The first characteristic is necessities. And that means that you should have everything that you need. You should have the necessary. You should have food. You should have clothing appropriate to the place where you are. You should have a place to sleep. You should have a place to pee. Like that. So, in other words, when you, and this is mainly about retreat, but you can think about it in terms of your daily meditation on a on a lower scale. It doesn't have to be so grand as what you would need for a long retreat. But in a long retreat, you want to make sure that everything is set up, that once you get into your retreat cabin, you don't have to think about a thing, about what we might call mundane needs, about food or clothing or water, that everything is there. Or you have access to someone who helps you, right? The second characteristic is that it's a safe place. That means there shouldn't be any wild animals around who could hurt you, which was that's a real thing in India, is, there's elephants roaming around and tigers and whatnot. Some monkeys can be pretty mean. In Arizona, if you've ever been to Diamond Mountain, we do have wild, dangerous creatures like rattlesnakes and scorpions and other such creatures. But you should be in a safe place where you can be protected. If there are wild animals around, you can be protected from them. The third characteristic is a good environment. And what this is related to is it's a place where you wouldn't get sick. Like if there's a place where, like in the United States right now, for example, there's this place in Texas where measles, the disease measles, which is a communicable disease, is spreading around and is getting close to being out of control. Or like we all experienced not too long ago with COVID, although that was everywhere. So where could you go to be safe from COVID? You could only stay in your home, right? So anyway, you don't go to a place where there's diseases that are running rampant. You don't want to get sick. You don't want to expose yourself to the risk of getting sick. or a place that's way too cold for your constitution or too hot for you. Be in a place that is supportive of your meditation and not putting you at risk of not being able to meditate. The fourth characteristic, I got to get there we go, is good friends. This is especially important for retreat. When you go into a long retreat, it's good to have someone who can be your retreat assistant, someone on whom you can call, or you actually write, if something happens and you need assistance, there's someone there who can help you, someone who supports what you're doing. If they're Buddhist too, that's great. But mainly they support and love you and support what you're doing in retreat. So someone you can go to in an emergency situation. And then the fifth condition is goodness. And what goodness means is that there shouldn't be too many people around. So, and this is especially important for retreat. It's difficult to do retreat in the middle of a city of millions of people. There's a lot of noises, there's voices, there's a lot of things that can distract your mind from your object of meditation. So not too many people, and at night there shouldn't be much sound. So it's really good, especially when you get to doing retreats, that you find a place that's secluded and quiet and safe and has all five of these characteristics. So those were characteristics of the first of the six conditions, right? The place. The second condition is called Dupa Chungwa. Say Dupa Chungwa. Dupa Chungwa. Now, this is one of those environmental conditions that's not on the outside, it's on the inside. And Dupa means to want. And Chungwa means little bit, little. So it means you have few wants. You have few needs. It's an attitude of, I don't need much. And I'm going to jump into the third one because it's similar, and then we'll talk about the distinctions of them. The third condition is called Chok Shepa. Say Chok Shepa. Chok Shepa. And this one means, let's see, where do I have the description of the word? Well, it's just the word together. Sorry. I don't break it down. So Chok Shepa means to be satisfied. To be satisfied with whatever you get. So the distinction is that the second one, that you don't want many things, dupa chungwa, is it's like from the beginning, from the very start, you don't require much. You're not a person who's like, well, I'm happy to go on holiday with you, but we have to stay in a hotel that has 7 stories and has a 5-star restaurant where I can order fresh broccoli every day. Not like that. Someone invites you to go on holiday and okay, great. Where are we going? Like you don't have particular needs that you need satisfied. And it's something that has to, well, I'll get into that in a second. And then the other one, chokshepa, is like as you're experiencing things, whatever you get, it's enough. You're happy, you're satisfied. You go to the restaurant, they don't have fresh broccoli, they have, canned cauliflower or something, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm happy. I'm satisfied. So there are 2 mental functions, not wanting much and being satisfied with what you get. And these 2 ideas, so these 2 of the 6, they come from the Abhidharma Kosha. That's where Tsongkhapa, well, not only Tsongkhapa, but I'll talk about that later. Sorry, jumping ahead of myself. So the Abhidharma Kosha, Abhidharma means higher knowledge. It's a Sanskrit word, higher knowledge. And kosha means a treasure. Geshe Michael translates this as a treasure house. So Abhidharma Kosha is the treasure house of higher knowledge. And this is a commentary. And we're having some auditory bleed through another language. If you could check your whether your mute button is on. If you are not a live translator, please mute yourself for now. Thank you. So Abhidharma Kosha was written by Master Vasubandhu, Arya Asanga's brother. So he's from around the same time, as you might imagine, 350 AD or current era. And in the Abhidharma Kosha, it lists many, many, many things, but including in these 2 principles that he says are very important for meditation. Your meditation can't succeed if you are a person who, from the get-go, from as soon as you wake up in the morning, has certain requirements. This must happen this way. This must be this way. I must get this. I must have my coffee in the morning. Or you aren't satisfied with what you do, what does happen for you. Your eggs break, and so you have to have cereal for breakfast, and you're not happy about that. So those 2 states of mind are very important for meditation, and we need to work on developing them before we go on retreats so that it's not some new habit that we have to work on while we're on retreat. We're in retreat for different reason. We're in retreat to focus our mind. So these are things we can practice, we can work on if they're challenging for us in our daily life. We can work on not having many requirements and on being satisfied with whatever we get. Now on to the fourth condition, and that's Ja Mung Pung. Say Ja Mung Pung. Ja Mung Pung. Ja means activities. Mung means many. And Pung means to give up. So this fourth condition is another, well, it's a mix of internal and external. We give up being busy. So if we're someone in work who's always, or even if you're just a Dharma student and you're going to this teaching and that teaching, and you're translating this book and that book, or you're doing live translation for people's classes, or you're helping to organize a retreat for other students, or whatever it is that you do in your day-to-day life, you give that up when you sit on your cushion. Whether you're sitting on your cushion for, your morning practice or your daily practice, or you're sitting on your cushion for a month or 3 months or 3 years in retreat, you give those things up. While you're there in your meditation space, you can basically think of yourself as no longer a person who organizes retreats or does live translation or writes books. You're there to meditate. So basically you're not giving your mind the opportunity to get distracted. We kind of like being busy. Our mind likes it because our mind loves to engage with different objects. When we're meditating, we're like, excuse me, mind, we're now going to focus on one thing only. So the mind is like, I don't know about that. So we can't allow busyness to come in. So especially on retreat, we want to not be busy in doing a bunch of things other than what we're there to do, which is meditate. So we don't think about translating a book in long retreat, or I'm going to memorize this book or that book. Well, maybe that's for personal advices later. But anyway, we want our retreat to be protected from busy work, because we're there for the purpose of focusing our mind. The fifth condition is Sultrum Dakpa. Say Sultrum Dakpa. Sultrum Dakpa. Sultrum means morality. And in the Buddhist teachings, this is basically avoiding harming others. That's morality. Avoiding bringing physical or mental pain to living beings, whether they're human or animal. And Dakpa means pure. Pure. So what this means is that we're keeping our morality purely. If you know that the 10 negative deeds, it's the 88,000 negative deeds that we have, that the Buddha narrowed down to 10. He said you can remember 10, so that we avoid those 10 and we do it very well. Or if we have vows, if we have vows, we're keeping our vows very well. Whenever we we're human. If you're anything like me, you're human and make mistakes, and sometimes say something that upsets somebody else, or maybe we're being careless when we walk down the sidewalk and we step on some bug and kill it. When we do something like that does bring harm to another, we do the practices to purify those negative actions against others. So we're keeping our vows, and we're being mindful about keeping them and repairing our vows, or purifying our negative actions when we notice that we have done them. And if you recall, this Shakpa, right? This is one of the 6 preliminaries. We had to collect goodness and purify negativities. So this is related to that. It's basically impossible to meditate when we're in the habit of harming others, when we're mindless about how we affect other people. That the very act of keeping vows, of maintaining our vows, provides this foundation to be able to focus the mind. It's like an energetic thing. To be harming others, it's a sort of wildness. Not being able to control anger, or being not caring if we shut the door in someone's face, or step on an animal, or it's a wildness. And with meditation, we're in the process of training our mind to be not only calm, that's like a byproduct, but to be able to be controlled. to be able to focus our minds where we want, with the object we want to engage with. And we'll get to that later in the course. So keeping pure morality is a very important condition that we must have if we want to be able to control our mind. The sixth condition is namtok pang. Say namtok pang. Namtok pang. Namtok, those of you learning Tibetan, you notice this talk, it's spelled without an S suffix. With an S suffix, if you've ever gone to the mixed nuts translation classes, or you took one of the earlier courses in this foundation series, Geshe Michael's talked about talk, the two meanings of talk. One is like when it's spelled like this without an S, it means just an idea, or it could mean a wrong idea. With an S, it means a realization. So when we talk about realizing emptiness or realizing the four Arya truths, we're using tok with an S on the end. They sound exactly the same. But anyway, this is the tok without an S. So what we're talking about here, Geshe Michael said he'd like to think about this as stupid thoughts. And pang, we just had, which means to get rid of, right? So we're getting rid of stupid thoughts. Now, what does this mean? A stupid thought can include many, many different things. But when we're talking about the 6 conditions, the stupid thought is desire. And desire in 2 senses. The first is desiring objects of the senses. It means sounds. It means tastes. It means sensations on your body, physical sensations. So when we're talking about a meditation practice, and especially with retreat, but also especially with meditation practice, any meditation practice, we want to give up our mind's sort of habit of tracing after sensations. When we hear a sound, we want to find out, what is that sound? Our mind wants to know what made that sound. Mainly because we want to make sure that, we're not going to get harmed by whatever made that sound. Or we feel something on our body. And this, especially in meditation, you feel something on your skin and you're like, oh my gosh, what's that? What's that on my skin? And you have a very strong desire to break your meditation and look and see, is that a bug, or Was it a breeze? So, which is okay, why we need to be in a place that's safe, where there's not creatures around who can harm us, right? We want to be protected so that when we get into our meditation space, we don't have to concern ourselves with sounds and physical sensation. We're withdrawing the mind from its very strong habit of chasing after these sensations. We're always trying to figure things out. I mean, even if you just take a day and say, I want to see, how does my mind behave just when I'm walking around or in a day, and just make note of the things that your mind is so it's not just curiosity, right? It's like a need. I need to know, what is that sound? I need to know, what is that physical sensation? So that's the first meaning of desire. The second meaning of desire here is to give up wanting anything. And this is related to give up wanting like normal, mundane things. We don't give up wanting to become enlightened. That's okay. But we give up wanting any normal or worldly thing. And again, this is the mind trying to, I don't know, distract itself to some shiny object. You know, the things we want, those are all shiny objects, whether it's a car or a good meal, or, you know, a pretty shirt, or whatever it is. Our mind we're in the desire realm after all. That's what we're sort of wired to do, is to desire things. So the sixth condition is to give up the desire for worldly pleasures and objects of the senses. Now, this worldly pleasure can also be, we can think about it in relation to taking refuge. We take refuge in the Buddha, the teacher, in the teachings, and in those who have realized those teachings. We go to them for protection. They are the only things that can protect us from a suffering life by following the Buddhist teachings and by following the Buddhist teachings, that is the way to not only get out of suffering, but to become an awakened being who only experiences bliss 24/7. Nothing else can give us that kind of happiness. Everything else, whether it's a pretty shirt or a good meal or a nice car or a good job, all those things will end. Even if they brought us a moment of happiness, it won't be much longer than that. They can't bring us true happiness. So we're giving those things up. in that way. So I see there's a question. Is condition 6 quite similar to condition 2? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And it can be more subtle than condition 2. You can be a person who's generally, happy, generally not needing other things. We have a phrase in English, easy-go-lucky. Someone who's very comfortable, not desiring things and being happy with whatever they get. So that would be conditions 2, 3. But even a person who has those qualities, their minds are still in the habit of chasing after things. And it can be very subtle. Like, for example, here I am, I'm teaching you, I'm sharing information, I'm keeping my mind on what I'm talking about. I have no wish to do anything else. I have no requirements that anything happen in a particular way. But I just heard a sound outside, and my mind went there to find out, what is that sound? Even though I'm in a protected space, there's nothing that can harm me here. My mind still went there. So it can be very, very subtle. And we need to help our minds along. We need to be in a place that is as protected as possible. And that's what these 6 conditions are. Trying to do everything we can in advance to allow ourselves to really hone our minds, to develop this tool of controlling the mind, to be able to focus it on one object for as long as we want to. And of course, the highest object, which we will talk about later in later classes, but is the nature of reality, is the absence of self-existence. We want to be able to stay with that object for as long as possible. So let's see. Geshe Michael said we should do successful business to help more people. How do we balance our career pursuits with minimal desires required for meditation? That's a good question. So in my experience, the practicing the Buddhist teachings is like, it's like being a scientist. And that my whole life, my collection of experiences, they're all opportunities for me to practice the teachings. If we start the day like waking up and having the thought, first rejoicing we're still alive, but then having the thought, oh, today, may I keep my mind focused on the Dharma. May I, with every experience I have, be able to use the teachings so that I can further open my heart and mind. So that I can, eventually see emptiness directly and reach enlightenment. So if we have as our goal reaching enlightenment, there are many things, many practices within the Buddhist teaching, the collection of Buddhist teachings. Some things are when we're sitting on our cushion. Some things are when we're interacting with other people. We in our studies, what we're doing is building. We're building our laboratory, basically. We're building our collection of test tubes and I don't know. I'm not a real scientist, so I I shouldn't have used that as an example because I don't know anything besides test tubes, microscopes, and sometimes they've got Bunsen burners, like they burn things. Scientists have many different tools that they use in exploring whatever it is they're exploring. So in our exploration of how to put the teachings into practice, we build this laboratory of all the different teachings, all the different practices we can use in our life to develop our heart and our wisdom, our understanding. So there's like career pursuit. I would say just keep in mind, frequently bring to mind why you're doing what you're doing. My goal is to help as many people so I can collect the goodness that I need in order to be able to go on retreat for a long period of time, to see emptiness directly, to realize bodhicitta in my heart, to have all the realizations that lead me to being a being that's completely, totally awake, is omniscient, and whose mind is filled with wisdom and bliss, whose only desire is to help all beings. Like, bring that to mind constantly. My desire is not to be, VP of sales. Although that may be your job, or that may be the job that will help you the most. My desire, I'm not in this job so that I can make a lot of money. You may make a lot of money, but that's not why you're in that job. Always bring the motivation to the highest possible motivation. Having a good salary and a nice job title, those are things that are temporary. And they are things that will never bring you satisfaction. So don't allow the mind to chase after them. Use condition number 3. Be happy with what you get. Yes, okay, I'm happy with the job title and and the salary, thank you very much. But, if the company goes out of business tomorrow, okay, I'm happy with that too. I have many practices that I can do to learn how to serve other people. So in a way, it's not a balance. In a way, there's just the practice of Dharma. And that's what we want to do. We want to engage our minds as much as we can with making every experience we have, whether it's making breakfast in the morning or giving a speech in front of hundreds of people, or dealing with customers, or no matter what it is, that we are in effect practicing Dharma. We're doing it to develop wisdom and to have an open heart. Great question. Okay, very quickly, I have to go through what can be a kind of challenging few questions. So put on your seatbelt. So Tsongkhapa's source for the 6 conditions is Komrim. And we talked about this last week. Komrim is the book Stages of Meditation by Master Kamala Shila. So in the Komrim, Master Kamala Shila talks about all 6. Now, in the first step, we had the 5 characteristics, right? In the first condition, we had the 5 characteristics. Those 5, where did they come from? They came from Master Asanga in his Sutra Alamkara, in his Jewel of the Sutras. And then we had the second and third conditions about having a mind that doesn't doesn't have a bunch of requirements, and then also being happy, being satisfied with whatever we get. Those 2 were talked about by Master Vasubandhu in the Abhidharma Kosha. So hopefully that's clear. And is there any last minute question? Quite literally last minute. Oh, thank you. It's very kind. No last minute questions. We're all ready to go. Do the reading, do our meditations over the next couple of days. And I will see you in 2 days. Have a wonderful, wonderful time. But first, let's do the proper thing and dedicate this work we just did. Oops, where'd it go? See, I'm share challenge. Now I have to close that and reopen it. I have to laugh because like it always happens, no matter how much I try and prepare. It's just one of those things. Okay. Let's good work here today. To the highest goal that we possibly can. Kewadi keoku sunam yeshe dzogsokshin sunam yeshe lejungwe tampar kunito parsho. Thank you, live translators. Thank you, ACI technical staff. Thank you, Zoom. Thank you, Internet. Thank you, all of you for your desire and your attention. And thank you, especially Geshe Michael Roach, for your teachings. Okay, now for real. See you in 2 days.
Thank you, dear Utpala. Please stay.
Bye.
Thank you,
Namaste.
teacher Upala.
Thank you, teacher.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, teacher. Happy birthday. 谢谢老师，生日快乐。
Thank you, teacher.
We love you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
We love you.
Hola.
Love you.
Bye bye.